And we're off. Good afternoon, ladies and gents, to my huge captive audience. I say hello. It is, what day are we on? Tuesday the 24th of March. And it is the day after the night before. The night before when Boris Johnson gave his stately address to the nation, telling us that we are all grounded to our rooms until further notice. So this is day one of isolation. Historic day, historic times. And as is the point of today's little broadcast, I would like to say day one of a great potential period of opportunity for everybody. What do I mean by this? First of all, let me just caveat this with the following. I'm well aware, all too aware, that people have got problems, people have got, economic, practical, logistical issues beyond belief. Can they work? If they're self-employed and how they're going to make ends meet. And I understand all those. I'm not in any way meaning to belittle or diminish those concerns and those angsts and causes of anguish and all that kind of stuff. I'm well aware that they are, very real, very pressing concerns on people. But the point of this broadcast is to talk about the fact that there's little we can do about this. It's not optional. It's not voluntary anymore. We are all grounded. So, as I said the other day, to quote again, let us gather honey from the weed and look at the opportunity this historic moment presents and, crucially, may never present again. So what does it actually mean? Well, surely what this nationwide and to some extent global grounding offers us, I believe, the opportunity of finally closing, shutting down and turning off the perennial treadmill. The treadmill that everyone talks about, everyone berates every day, every single day. It's such a trope. It's such a cliche. The treadmill that we can't get off. The treadmill, I'm just pounding away on the treadmill. The treadmill of day-to-day life. Blah, blah, blah. And yet, it's been switched off. Boris, with his big, podgy hands, has turned off the treadmill. So it doesn't exist. The external treadmill is no longer switched on. All we are doing is being relegated to the basics of life, and all external distraction doesn't exist for the time being. So I repeat again, this opportunity may never come again in our lifetimes. This opportunity for internal reflection, for internal cultivation, for a bit of internal gardening. So I just wanted to reflect on that we have the opportunity to do two things, I think. One is distract ourselves. Is not to be distracted from ourselves or from others. So there's two types of interaction we're going to have. One is the eternal interaction with ourselves, but without distraction. And two is the potential for interaction with others, again, without distraction. Yes, we've got TV, we've got technology, and thank God for it. And we can watch film, we can lose ourselves to some extent in that. But it gives us an opportunity, surely, to be or not to be, as the quote says, the famous quote, not to be strangers to ourselves. So, let us cultivate. Let us get to know ourselves a little bit better. Let us get to know our nearest and dearest a little bit better. Yes, it might be a bit oppressive at times, a little bit claustrophobic, all under the same roof, etc., etc. But surely, with that, gives in unprecedented times, unprecedented opportunity. A little quote for the day I was reading before, and by the way, let me just introduce my one of my spiritual soulmates, and that is this little darling here, the top 500 poems. It's called, and very, very creatively, and within is some of the great works, poetic works of recent or modern civilization, and that, let me tell you, is a gift. And much of it is, I'm sure, available online for free. You can even just Google it. Go and Google if this is your bag. Certainly is mine. Go and Google the various poets: W.H. Auden, Shakespeare, Shelley, Keats, Yeats, any of them, any of the above. If that's what floats your boat. If not, do something else. But it's school time. It's dinner time. We've been rained off and we've been told to get inside. So we can go to the classroom, we can go to the library, we can go to the art room, we can go to the physics, chemistry, biology rooms. The school building is ours, but no more the playground for the time being. So do whatever floats your boat. Pursue those hobbies. Cultivate those relationships, and yeah, get to know the people you live next or alongside. They are always there, of course. We're intimately familiar with what they look like, with their image, but do we, or are we, actually attentive to thinking about what they're thinking? What's going on inside them? How familiar are we with that? So again, in this historic, once in a lifetime, potentially, hopefully, obviously, health-wise opportunity, then let's take it. See how you get on. Get to know the people a little bit better that you live alongside every day. Get to know yourself, your interests, your behaviours a little bit better, maybe. So I thought on this sunny, as you can see, springtime day, I thought I'd interject with just a little line of poetry. The trumpet of a prophecy. O wind, if winter comes, can spring be far behind? So here we are on a very optimistic weather day, which may well be analogous to the sunny uplands that, all being well, touch wood, etc., health permitting, can be a time of personal growth in all aspects of that term. That's what I think this lockdown, to use that foreboding term, represents for us, or can represent if we choose to use it. And hey, if not, then and you want to just, a little bit of free time, as Oscar Wilde, the great Wilde, said, life is far too important to be. So in that spirit, maybe just enjoy yourself. Just listen to good music, read good books, have good conversations, and yeah, make hay while the sun literally and metaphorically shines. Have we got any little quotes for today? I am, after all, the casual philosopher, so I will try. seek to leave you with a few lines of profundity from this tome I have in front of me. But my favourite quote comes from, let's see, excuse all this technology, this din of technology. So let's leave you with this I'll leave you with this little quote, this little, masterpiece by, yet again, the Bard. And I can never apologise for quoting from the greatest works of his time. I would say our time, maybe any time. And so, forgive me, but I will quote from Shakespeare quite regularly in these little broadcasts. So, the quote is, and forgive me for taking it out of context, but I think it still carries merit. And it goes, "Purpose is but the slave to memory, of violent birth but poor validity. But orderly to end where I begun, our wills and fates do so contrary run, that our devices still are overthrown. Our thoughts are ours, their ends none of our own." Now, I appreciate that's a pretty hard thing to digest through the auditory system, just having someone say it to you. But I'll try and break it down briefly. I don't want to waffle on too long. Excuse me. But it goes like this. "Purpose is but the slave to memory, of violent birth but poor validity." Meaning, of course, that purpose is essentially a roughly born thing that comes into existence through our own cognition, but once there is immediately passed to memory, remembered, and is no longer in activity. Is no longer in our. How can I put this? Is no longer a fresh item. It is now simply a remembered fact that we try and instill, try and implement, try and get into our implemented into action. So the next line, I think, or the next couplet is breathtaking. "Our wills and our fates do so contrary run, that our devices still are overthrown." So what we think, what we wish for, what we try and make happen, God laughs when we make plans, etc. And our fate do so contrary run. They run against each other. There is so much in life that we are not in control of, that we have no autonomy over, and therefore what we hope for, what we try and make happen, and what actually happens, two completely separate things. And surely COVID-19 in the year 2020 is a perfect example of that. "Our thoughts are ours," it finishes, "their ends none of our own." So our thoughts belong to us. They are products of our own internal machinery. But, and this is the crucial bit, their ends, where they lead us, is little, or, well, none of our own, is little to do with us. And so, I think in that little extract of Shakespeare, there is much to be learned. And if you wish to, I will give you, in fact, at the next broadcast, a bit of referencing. So if you wish to follow that up and have it far more eloquently explained by author or by your own interpretation, let me know and I will reference it for you to do that. So yeah, that's the purpose of today's activity, today's broadcast, today's video blog. So please stay tuned for the next one, if you wish. And remember the quote from Wilde: life is far too important to be taken seriously. And that includes this blog. So I'll leave you with this quote from Morrissey, whether you like him or not, the iconic frontman for the Smiths, solo artist, etc. Depressed, but remarkably dressed. So I may not be the former, and I hope you're not depressed, but always striving to be remarkably dressed. So I'll leave that with you. All the best. Enjoy day one of isolation. And remember, it's a once in a lifetime opportunity, never to be repeated. Over and out.